It begins and it erupts. As predicted, June 14th, 2025, it is Flag Day. It is Donald Trump's birthday. It is a massive June 14th military parade with the backdrop of what many fear and the mainstream media is predicting, God forbid, pray against it, could be riots nationwide. And now this, a massive breaking news event, which I believe that a lot of this, in my opinion, is orchestrated to breed the necessary division that the cabal is actually looking for, to bring Republican and Democrat against each other so that they're concentrating on fighting each other as world war, which we predicted because God told us is in motion now. World war. Please like and share is live and operational. The Israeli government and officials made a statement earlier this morning, and I will read you the direct quote that said, "Tehran will burn." Quote, massive strikes, massive attacks, cloaked attack on Iran. I told you that this would happen prior to June 14th because they were really, what they were doing is militarizing the country under this idea of protests for No King's Day. By the way, notice that in 2020, there was no nationwide, well-orchestrated protests over lockdowns or closures of your business and all those other things that were going on, which were terrible. But suddenly, No King's Day is well-funded. The mainstream media is promoting it. There's professional-looking websites up within hours. And now this, a Minnesota lawmaker was just taken out. What they are calling a politically motivated event, who also happens to be a top Democrat. If there was a match and you had kerosene over a bunch of wood in a fire and you wanted to pour more into it and dump the match on top of it, that would be the equivalent of what just happened. And by the way, is Flag Day turning into my prediction of a false Flag Day? Let it sink in, because it sure looks like it. I also wanted to comment on the extreme depravity, and honestly, this makes me nervous. Like, please pray. Let's all pray for our great president, for the country, for the United States, for our people, and for what's happening now, because the military parade actually makes me very nervous. I want you to think about it. It almost feels like a deep state setup. It gives me very much like sitting duck, JFK, Dallas, Texas vibes. And the reason for that is during the backdrop of world war, possible nukes, which I think are going to happen. I pray I'm wrong, and I pray against it, but I think that that will happen. I predicted that for some time. But with the backdrop of all of that, Washington has our great president, all of our politicians, military personnel, arsenal, equipment, tanks, Black Hawk helicopters, and so much more. Our top leading generals all in the same location at the same time in Washington. It almost seems like that's the plan. I mean, for crying out loud, if you were worried about Iran counterstriking and possible, God forbid, pray against it, proxies activating, I couldn't think of a better time that the United States enemies would target everyone in the same place, in the same freaking location at the same time. I mean, guys, this doesn't make sense. Just like they set up JFK, they're like, oh yeah, come here to Dallas, Texas, we'll leave you wide open. We're not even gonna put you in a normal car, we'll just throw a convertible top there so you're a sitting duck. We saw this with Shinzo Abe, who was taken out in Japan, in a country that doesn't even have those things. So the person made a homemade one and took him out right in the back, sitting duck. Again, something about this doesn't feel right. And I always tell you to trust your instincts and only trust the eyes, things that you see with your own eyes. Also, I want you to be very wary in the coming hours, because a lot of what you will see will be deepfakes. There's a lot of videos circulating now online that aren't real. This includes the world war events that we're seeing in Iran and Israel. And there's a lot of information going around that you can clearly see was AI generated. So just be careful and understand that the AI generative technologies that the elites possess, which is hidden only for them. I mean, you've seen what my team can do with this stuff. It's pretty amazing, right? So think about what they can do with it. That even speeches, presidential speeches, events, mainstream media reporting might look real, but it might be absolutely fake. It's indistinguishable from reality. A lot of you must probably, not you, but I think a lot of people did miss this week because there's been so much other things going on. But Sam Altman declared that AI has actually reached sentience, meaning it's a thinking, almost breathing alien technology. I always called it the alien invasion, AI, that now is actually self-replicating, thinking for itself, and will start coding its future upgrades, in addition to running simulations and speaking in computer code and languages human beings don't understand with other AI agents as they mastermind and basically overthrow the republic. I produced a video, dozens of them, warning of this exact event over and over and over again over the last several months. Warning, telling you June 14th was a militarization, psychological programming, deep state, pre-planned event, which, by the way, was pre-planned way ahead of Donald Trump. Way ahead of Donald Trump. It was actually planned by the Joe Biden administration. So all of this has been leading into the smoke screen cover through the night with the shroud of darkness and what the demonic Satanist occult know so well. And that is to signal their attack on very demonic days and with perfect, astute ball timing. Case in point, the attack, which we predicted, again, all God be the glory. Many of you knew as well, especially if you've been following me, that the attack would take place on Friday the 13th. Demons. Many of you probably know that Donald Trump declared his national emergency declaration in 2020 over the event, that I can only say so much on, guess when? Friday the 13th. Demonic. If it's not clear now that we are in a spiritual war, you must not be paying attention. Cities are bracing for what the mainstream media, the Associated Press, CNN, and Fox News are calling for protests erupting across the country during a military parade, which I do think is a blessing, actually, and I agree with Trump on this, and happy birthday to our president. By the way, that the rain coming is actually a good sign. That is a good sign from God. I remember when my brother was going in for surgery, my late brother Cody, I prayed the night before that it would rain so that God would give me a sign that everything would be okay. And there was no rain on the weather report. It was completely sunny in Scottsdale, Arizona. I remember the morning I woke up at about 4 a.m. in the morning. I'm stepping into my car, and I look up, and the teardrops of rain stream down my face. So I do believe that God's blessing is over the country. I do believe that God's blessing is over America. I do believe that God's blessing is with our president at this very moment in the military parade. So to God be the glory. Folks, did you hear what I just said? Are you liking and sharing this? I mean, for the love of God, are you ready? Are you prepared? Have you been taking my advice? Do you have your money out of the banks? Are you in safe havens? Are you in real world assets? Are you organized at your churches? Are you praying steadfastly with others? Have you built a community, a private ecosystem yet? I mean, U.S. officials just came out earlier this morning, say they fear a Tiananmen Square moment at Trump's military parade. I couldn't think of a more opportune time for the deep state to act. It would be the equivalent of Pearl Harbor. Imagine if something happens at the parade today. It would turn a very unpopular war into a mainstream and very popular transition. Again, we saw this with Pearl Harbor. I want you to understand the gravity of what's ahead of us. There's only a couple viable outcomes. One, Donald Trump and Israel will strafe and absolutely destroy Iran, probably use nuclear force, especially if Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, which is responsible for about 20% or more of all of our petrol and oil coming through that strait from places like Saudi Arabia, Oman. The list goes on and on. I think it's upwards of 25, 30% for NG, natural gas. But either the Donald Trump administration, along with Israel, devastates and Hiroshima's and Nagasaki's Iran to rubble, like we've seen with Gaza, and then overthrows the regime, like what was done by America in Iraq, Afghanistan, that we later withdrew from, of course, because Joe Biden is an idiot, and other places like Libya, and establishes like a new diplomatic, friendly, some would argue, puppet government that works with interests of our allies and the states, which is a terrible event in and of itself. I mean, Iran's 100 million person per capita, huge city. I mean, this is not the desert of Iraq, guys, okay? It's not caves with the Durka guys, for crying out loud. This is 100 million people in Tehran. So either there's full-blown regime change within the next few weeks, and that'll evolve into months, and then, of course, establishment of military bases and arsenals around Iran to see the transition of governmental power, which is really just a coup, into some kind of allied friendly government, which is probably most likely to happen. And even though it sounds terrible, is probably the best of outcomes. And Russia and China would have to lie down too. I want you to understand this, including Iran and North Korea. They would actually have to back off and allow that to happen. Because again, they've got their finger on the trigger right now. War in Ukraine hasn't ended. Russia and China are very capable of launching hypersonics at the United States and the West, especially Europe, which it's very close to. The option one assumes they stand down, and that the East allows the United States to foment its military force in the region. Otherwise, Russia and China will act strategically, and they will use this as an opportunity to take places like Taiwan, shut down shipping lanes, put a grinding halt to the semiconductor trade, affecting all of really our new technology footprint, AI, microprocessors, all the chips, household appliances, cars. This includes the GPUs, mining equipment. I mean, the list goes on and on. All of these supercomputers that are governing now what Sam Altman admits is a sentient, alien, some would even call demonic, otherworldly entity, interdimensional, that is now taking over the world. I mean, I'm sorry to say, guys, but we're in end times. I'm sorry to say. I love you all. I want to take a moment to actually highlight an amazing man. Kind of almost brings tears to my eyes. Island Project member, Reverend George Blackmore. of North Carolina just passed recently. He was an amazing Christian man and leader of Christians. And his wife, Kathy, is a very special woman whom I love and is an amazing member of islandproject.com. And she just alerted my father and I that Reverend George Blackmore, who will be forever missed, passed. And I just want to thank you, sir, for your leadership. And we're so happy and joyful to know that you're with the King. Thank you. And Kathy, my hearts and prayers go to you and your family and loved ones. Folks, as we enter the darkness of world war, dollar collapse, civil unrest, what Ray Dalio and others are calling Civil War 2.0, the Great Disorder, as what some people would say, and I think this is a valid critical thinking skill, that things like this are probably somewhat at least engineered to stoke the fire in America, to destabilize our great constitutional republic. I want you to understand, he who controls the minds of men is ruler. And the state really doesn't want critical thinking individuals that are sovereign over themselves. That might mean they might get their own ideas, if you know what I mean. And so the media blueprint, especially in the day of AI and deep fakes and algorithms that arguably we could even argue, and I'm a pro-capitalist, pro-freedom, 100% free speech guy, but some of these algorithms honestly being run by the deep state against the American people are questionable, and I could argue that they might even need Supreme Court intervention. We could even argue its legality, because I believe that the American people, not you, but a lot of people that have blind faith in their government and think that the politicians are looking out for them and only see the mainstream media at face value and think, well, hey, CNN and Fox News would never lie to me. I mean, they have another thing coming to them. Keep in mind that the deep state lied to you about Bitcoin for nearly 15 years, and now they're going all in, promoting it, telling you it's the transition, telling you that it's the currency of AI, legislating actual cryptocurrency events in the United States, pushing forward and mainstreaming stablecoin technologies, which will be the new US dollar reset, spending more debt than they ever have in the history of the world. This war, guys, this world war will cost more money. There's not going to be any savings. I told you this for months. It was all a lie. There is no Doge savings. Even if Musk had really good intentions, and he probably did, and he is an American patriot, and he's opened up a lot of freedom of the press, which I do commend him on. Even with good intentions, we knew that that was never going to happen. So this world war has now opened an economic debt collapse and a dollar run on fiat currency, which will result in what I've long predicted: bank runs and capital controls. What that means is that you won't be allowed to remove your money from the bank soon. You won't be allowed to invest in things like you see around me. They won't allow it. Your money will be on halt at the bank. I told you this in 2020, that the next series of events would be a financial lockdown. They won't let your money leave during the war and during the crisis. It's an emergency. Your rights will be removed. There will be executive actions that will be needed, taken by the president to prevent complete panic and economic collapse. Although I don't even know if he can stop it at this point, which is why they're setting up the new system now and the transfer of power. And this is what Palantir and all these other corporations, of course, have been working on. I've been schooling you on all that for years, for a long time. And leaving the country will be difficult. I don't believe you will be able to leave the United States. So for those of you thinking about strategic relocation, Act now. Repatriating funds into foreign institutions, foreign banks, or foreign investments will also be prohibited. Do you understand? So, like and share, pray, get this out to your friends and family. Know that there's hope in our King, King Jesus. Know these are signs of his return. Getting called up, folks. Hey, Reverend, Mr. Blackmore, I know you're looking down. Look out for us in the kingdom with the angels and God and Jesus and the Father and the Holy Spirit. Bless us. Bless the Digital Noah's Ark. Bless my members in the Island Project. Bless AMTV. Till your kingdom come. And I love you all. I'll be reporting throughout the day on the series of events, retaliatory strikes, the military parade, massive unrest and protests for No King's Day in American streets, what I believe will be an imminent nuclear event.